All right, guys, so let's talk about some Spider-Man Far From Home. Let's do some initial thoughts. First, real quick, we asked for stuff on the Instagram, and our good friends over at Downright Nerdy Podcast responded and said, we enjoyed it. It had its flaws, but overall we both placed it in mid to high tier range for an MCU.
Yep.
I talked to Michael Carls from the Downright Nerdy about it a little while off.
Oh, the Michael Carls?
Oh, yes, him.
The one and only.
And he was saying that his problem while watching the movie, like one of his biggest issues, was kind of resolved by the post-credits, and he kind of needs to watch it again. And we'll kind of get into that. But it was very much based in the performance of Fury and Hill, that he had issues with it while he was watching the movie. And then
I think that
obviously
kind
the
of plays it out.
kind of
yeah.
changes it. But that nonetheless painted it while he watched it, and he hasn't seen it a second time.
And what's funny is, like, before we get into spoilers, like, if you leave the movie, like, what does that do for the rest of the MCU? Let's say you just avoid the post-credit scene. That sets up everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, these post-credit scenes are I thought
The
people were
most-
overselling it, but they are the most relevant, not just to like the future of the MCU, but specifically to your perspective of the film you watched.
Yes.
If you don't watch that last post-credit scene, you watched a different movie. You literally watched a different movie.
It's almost nuts that both of those were post-credit scenes, if you think about it.
It
Because
honestly,
they're so tied to the plot.
it honestly is.
It really is crazy.
There are people who think that was really... Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Let's get into initial thoughts. Ben, how do you feel about Spider-Man Far From Home?
I liked it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I did Homecoming, but I still had a good time. Seeing it the second, I saw it twice, and seeing it the second time, like there are parts where I could feel like it was dragging a little bit. But once we got into like the thick of the Mysterio stuff, that's like, okay, you got me back in. So Mysterio, as a con guy, oh man, I love Mysterio as a villain in this movie. I really enjoyed him and Jake Gyllenhaal. But all in all, it's solid. Yeah, solid Marvel film. Yeah, I would place it in the mid tiers. It's enjoyable. It's very enjoyable.
Sure. Ryan.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed this movie. After Endgame, I was really worried that they were going to make this a big, bombastic, like, multiverse like thing.
Yes.
Especially because it's the end of Phase 3, so why not go out on a big note? That's not Spider-Man for me. I like Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, so the fact that it kind of was, even though he's in Europe, this was a small-scale movie, really made me happy. The characterization is some of my favorite in all of the MCU. I'm in love with the villain. Like, I am over the moon in love with the villain. I can't tell you how much I love this villain. I don't think this is a better movie than Homecoming, but like I feel like a lot of sequels for me are like, hey, I found it way more entertaining, but it's not as concrete a good movie.
Sure.
There's definitely pacing problems, and after seeing it a second time, I definitely noticed there's pacing problems in this movie for sure.
Yeah.
But once the Mysterio stuff happens, the rest of the movie's gold.
Oh yeah.
Like, it just takes a while to kind of get there.
Like, I want to say when the first Mysterio, like when Peter Parker figures out Mysterio is the bad guy, like the true bad guy, that's when things...
When the bar scene hits, that's when the
Yes.
movie goes into full force.
Oh yeah, definitely.
100%.
Definitely, 100%. Okay, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so quick little anecdote.
Hold on, what do you think about the movie
Sparks?
Yeah.
I think Spider-Man is like an okay superhero, so this was kind of just an okay movie for me. No, Spider-Man's like my favorite. So this, I come in. I know I come in with like certain standards in mind, and this met a lot of them. I know I like this movie. I know it's a good movie. I have conflicted feelings because of part of the ending, and I have conflicted feelings because I've come to recognize a pattern in the John Watts Spider-Man films that leaves me a little bit wanting. But overall, I still really enjoy it. I think I echo what you guys are saying, which is that I definitely think Homecoming was the stronger film between the two, but I still think this is thoroughly enjoyable. I was able to like more things the second time knowing what was up, but I also liked some things a little less now knowing what was up, and we'll kind of dive into that and stuff. But you were about to say something.
Yeah, so a little anecdote. Right before we went and saw the movie, Faye and I saw this on 4th of July, and I told her that, so Mysterio's the bad guy. And she looks at me and goes, what? I'm like, yeah, he's the bad guy. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, wait, you think Mysterio's the hero? She's like, yeah, they say in the trailer he came from another alternate universe. I'm like, oh, no.
We live in a nerd bubble, my man.
I'm like, and because I thought she knew, because I knew Mysterio was a bad guy thanks to watching the Spider-Man animated show when I was a kid. And also looking through the books, like seeing a dude with a fishbowl on his head, I was like, yeah, that looks like a bad guy to me. but she had no idea. She told me that her knowledge of Spider-Man villains came from the films, and up until that point, only the Sam Raimi films. She's never seen the Mark Webb ones, the Andrew Garfield films. Only Sam Raimi. So
Mysterio wasn't in those anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So hearing that Mysterio is a con, she's like, "How is he a con man? How is he a bad guy?" I'm like,
just wait.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, honey.
Yeah,
I kind of feel bad that I spoiled it for her.
Yeah,
because the whole movie, going into it, you do believe him. You believe him that he's like, oh yeah, he does. He is there for the whole time. I was thinking, where's the con gonna play out? Where's the con?
You do have the split audience of those who don't know better,
Yeah.
and those who do know better, who
Just
are like, are they going to change it?
Ryan, you posting all those memes on Facebook of the Casey Casuals, like, oh my god, Mysterio is such a good guy, and then there's Kevin Feige in the background smiling like, oh,
just you wait. Yeah,
just you wait, just you wait.
I was just waiting. Yeah, we're in spoiler territory. We're gonna talk about this movie.
Spoilers for Spider-Man: Far From Home. Completely.
We
don't do non-spoilers.
It's made over $500 million already, and it's been less than a week.
Seen it.
It's been less than a week, so you've seen this movie probably. You see it. Yeah. Really, I think the movie really fully gets into focus once that bar scene hits. Once the E stuff and see, that wasn't so easy. That's when I feel like the movie was waiting.
Oh, that wasn't so hard.
Yeah, that wasn't so hard.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, that was the moment. We had to do a lot of stuff to get to this moment. We'll talk about all the stuff before that because I think that's where the movie mostly suffers. Because after that, I have no problems really for me.
Yeah. So I think it's just going to be, because we are spoiler free, I think it's better to just talk about Fury and Hill knowing what the post credits is. So
yes.
let's just address that specific post credits, which is that we find out in the very last post credits of the film that Fury and Hill are actually Talos and
Soren,
that's his wife.
Yeah.
And they've disguised themselves.
Yeah, they took over for Fury and Hill as just to take over because
and this is what downright nerdy Michael Carls and I were talking about, is that once he knew that, it did make him think about. But having not seen it a second time, and now having seen it a second time ourselves, I can say that you do kind of get the vibe, and good on Sam Jackson and Colby Smulders to an extent for creating a separate performance from the characters they were already doing, yet still being those characters in a way, but not feeling as natural. Because Fury doesn't feel as cool and confident.
No, he's dumber for sure.
Yeah,
he's way more trusting. He says some things that Fury wouldn't say.
Yes,
he messes with his eye patch a couple times, and I'm seeing it a second time, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so good.
Yeah.
It's all there.
So the first time that threw me off when I first saw the movie, the first time was when Pierre was talking about Captain Marvel, and he says, "Don't invoke her name."
Yeah, and I'm like,
why
that triggered something in me. I'm like, that's a weird thing for Fury to say.
Yeah,
don't invoke her name, but they're friends.
Yeah, they're pals.
Yeah.
Why would he be like, "Don't invoke Captain"?
That's
what?
great.
That's weird.
Which adds more implications. Okay, so what's the history between Captain Marvel and the Skrulls? 20-something years later.
Well, now I think it was just hey, just she's one of the best people. Don't say, oh, I'm gonna call him Captain Marvel. Shut up.
Yeah,
I don't know, but so that threw me off. And then the whole time when Quinn was telling his oh, I'm from Universe 833, and Snap tore a hold of the dimension and blah blah blah. I'm like, this is bull.
Fury says Beck's not from your world.
Yeah. He says that.
Our world.
Not our world, because it's not Talos' world.
He's from Earth, just not yours.
And again, seeing it a second time, it's the little subtle things, because it's still Nick Fury. Skrulls are good at becoming who they're supposed to be, but not perfect.
Yeah.
And it's the little things when you see Nick Fury for a dozen movies, these things.
It happens twice in this movie that Peter refers to Maria Hill as ma'am.
Yes.
And I immediately went, I don't think Maria Hill would just go yep to that.
Yeah, she'd be like,
and she
do
does
not
it
call
twice,
me that.
and I'm like, no. That's now that I know, I'm like, yo,
call me Agent Hill or call me Maria.
Yeah, she
don't
definitely
call me
would
ma'am.
not like being called ma'am.
Yeah, she's also one of my it's not a real problem. I just the characterization of Maria Hill in the comics. She is super hard ass, and she's a lot softer in the Marvel movies. And she was kind of hard in here, and I was like, she's acting a lot harder than she normally does. And I'm like, it's because it's not Maria Hill.
Right.
It's so good. I love it.
Scroll, which the ending trailer or the ending credit scene, the final post credit scene where it's revealed that there's the Skrulls.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool. It's
not just that, but they're working with Fury.
Yeah.
While Fury
Fury's
is in space
Yes.
doing Sword, Space Shield.
freaking sword.
And again, it's the thing that like I did not want my Spider-Man movie to be this big multi-dimensional thing, but in a way, because of the first post-credit scene, it is, but it's not in a big way.
Yeah.
And the second one, it's like, oh, this is actually a cosmic story.
Yes. So the sword angle about it, I want to talk about near the end.
Yeah.
But there are impressive things that Sam Jackson and Colby Smulders did, or shots that were set up where they're both looking like when Peter starts going off about the multiverse, and you see Fury and Hill both looking at him, and they do not look like they normally would when someone was doing that.
Yeah, and that's when
they look off.
That's when Quentin says like, never apologize for being the smartest one in the room, because they don't know how smart Peter is.
Yes, and so they look off, and they're
like, anyway, back to the mission.
I think that shows really, really well.
Yeah.
Man,
I honestly can't imagine watching this movie and having like Nick Fury and Marie Hill are definitely not the same characters, and then leaving, because then you will
just feeling like, oh man, they made Fury kind of weak.
Yeah,
in this
it is
movie.
a different movie. Like, it's kind of baffling that it's the post-credits.
The real Nick Fury would have never believed Quentin's story from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not a single thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that he wouldn't have believed it. I think he just would have been suspicious and looked
way more
into
suspicious
it.
than
I don't think he would have. I don't think like necessarily like immediate disbelief is the truth.
That thing that he says as Fury, like, you know,
He's
I was
the
gone.
most-
I was gone 5 years. I used to know everything. That is still true about Fury.
Yes.
That's why he's in space now.
Yeah. That's definitely a representation of how things are going right now, and also Quentin has a great line where he calls Fury the most paranoid and dangerous man on the planet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if
which
he
is
screws,
true.
If
So
he
like,
screws up,
I do believe that Fury would have given Quentin a chance, but he would have been suspicious the entire way through. But obviously that doesn't even happen because this is Talos. Even looking at that first scene, watching it a second time, it's like, why are we even here? And it's like, gotta check this out. And it's like, yeah, but this isn't what we're supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
And it very much is like a daddy's not home. Let's see if we can handle the situation quietly on our own.
Since we're talking about all of the Skrull stuff,
yes.
They talk about Kree sleeper agents.
Kree sleeper agents, yes.
Captain
Which
Marvel
for
too?
me, like, clearly they're not doing the regular secret invasion route where the Skrulls are invading.
Right.
That does not mean there cannot be somehow a Kree invasion. Because they can look like regular people too.
Yeah,
There's like they don't shapeshift, but
And
they
the
look.
secret invasion involves the Kree, not the Skrulls.
No, the secret invasion is the Skrulls.
No. But in this,
No, he's saying like the new version.
the new version of the films
Yes.
is the secret, like the
It's
the new
reverse.
version of Civil War is the Sokovia Accords
Yes.
from the book. So we can still get secret invasion.
And I can imagine with the Skrulls working with the humans, the Kree are going to want to get revenge on Earth.
Yeah.
I only real quickly want to say, because I know I've talked about it off air. I'm just not a person super down for a secret invasion story in the films, and that's me personally. Both in the sense whether it's Skrulls or Kree, there's no character that I can think of, no major character. You had the one honestly in this movie who, if you told me this whole time was a Skrull or whatever, I'd be like, dang, and that was Hill, and it's not. That is his wife, and that's not Hill, but. I don't believe that there's any good version where you tell me that a character we've been following in the movies this whole time has actually been a sleeper agent for one of these other things, and I don't feel like it ruined older films.
Yeah.
So I'm all about like the Kree trying to invade Earth and everything, but like doing a more or less one for one of Secret Invasion is just not a story I want to see as movies, especially because I think doing the Hydra stuff already blew the canon on that for the films. I don't think Secret Invasion as like just that simple story can work anymore.
I agree.
But I'm all about like the Kree stuff coming back around.
Much like Civil War, the movie wasn't 500 superheroes battling at once. Like they're going to slim it down. They're going to trim it down. Like it can be still an invasion of hundreds of Kree around the world in specific places. But again, that is just like Hydra. So they have to do something completely different because that Hydra thing is basically a human secret invasion.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I bet, but you know, man, Kevin.
But
Feige's
it's still,
smart.
but it's still really cool to just even to know that like the Kree Skrull War is a focus still going on for them.
It is awesome.
That's just awesome that that's still present.
Yeah.
It still makes me really hope that the next Captain Marvel movie doesn't feel like it has to take place entirely now. But take place partially, at least in the time between, because like I want to know exactly what was going on with that war up to this point.
Yeah.
I want to know exactly what was going on with Captain Marvel
up
to that point.
So remember, at the end of Captain Marvel, she and Talos go off to find a new Skrull planet. So 20 years later, why is he on Earth? Yeah. So that's a whole story of how he gets there.
I imagine that there's a decent amount of like
Fury and Talos have to become
Let's
homies.
assume that Talos was not blipped. Let's assume that. So that's 5 years that he could have been on Captain Marvel's page of helping handle things, and now he's just come down for Fury to help out.
Yeah, after Endgame.
Because he's been involved in kind of like cleanup post what
Carol
Thanos
is
did.
like, hey, this Talos guy's really helpful. He can be you while you go do your thing. Yeah.
I feel like that very easily could be a part of the canon of what's happened.
Yeah.
Props to Ben Mendelsohn for making a fun appearance. Like I'm glad that character's still around.
Uh-huh.
So that's touching on all that stuff. Let's talk about the Spider-Man movie.
So just real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry. There was a rumor. I don't know if it was true or not that Ben Mendelsohn shows up at the end of Endgame in.
Yeah, it's not true.
Okay.
It's that there's a shot in Endgame when Ned and Peter see each other, and there was
the
a guy who
one
just
shot.
looks. There's one dude in there who
Just a white
looks
dude.
a lot like Ben Mendelsohn from the side, and everyone was like, "Is that Ben Mendelsohn? Is that?" It's not.
Okay.
It's not him.
I didn't look
He
it up.
wasn't
or not.
like hanging out with Pete. That was
Yeah.
just
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spider-Man.
Reaching. So Spider-Man.
Hey guys, Tom Holland's amazing.
We pick up with him. It seems like it's. I can't tell if it's 8 months or a year.
It says 8
it's
months.
at least 8 months.
It said they say 8 months.
I know they say 8 months that like a specific thing has been going on, but they also say that like they came back.
They
and
say
they had
8
to start
months
the,
ago.
Yeah.
Heroes brought us back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because they also start their school year completely over, and we're now at the end of a school year.
Yeah, because the previous year, it happened, and so
Right.
That's 8 months ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to look into it too much.
Anyway, so they were almost at the end of their school year. They have now gone back to the beginning of a school year 5 years later.
Yeah.
Which is a crafty way to keep Peter a junior instead of a senior now.
All of his friends, yeah.
Yeah, so Peter would the next year be going into being a senior.
Heck yeah.
So very likely, potentially, the next Spider-Man film could still have him be a high schooler.
If he's not on the run.
Whatever that's going to be. I thought that was pretty crafty. I was surprised we picked up that far down the road.
Far From Home?
Just this like 8 months of like character development and stuff that has happened, what Peter's been doing in all that time. The idea that Tony Tony's death, obviously, because this film opens up with that in memoriam, which is awesome. The whole
so
news
funny.
thing is the best way to pick up after Endgame.
Getty Images is plastered
Yes.
right on
Yeah.
there. It's beautiful.
Jeez. It's
Although
so good.
Captain America's not dead. He's just old.
They don't know that.
But everybody in the public
They don't know that.
thinks he's dead. That's what they're
All right,
establishing.
all right.
Captain America didn't explain his time traveling plans to the United States.
Yeah. So the
Alright.
rest of the world is going to think that he
He's
died.
okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get that more explored in other films.
I know.
Or a Disney Plus show. Who knows? It's also cool that they acknowledge to the public that Vision is dead.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting.
Hey man,
that until it
Vision's
shows
got
up.
fans.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm sure. They got that one blurry image. Man,
I guess so. Yeah, that
what a
blurry
great way to
image,
start.
Yeah, it was awesome.
'Cause that's exactly
With
what we were-
I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston.
we were
Yes.
talking about the specific thing. Like, we love that high school stuff
100%.
in the first movie. I hope there's more of that. And it's literally the beginning of this movie. I guess.
What a way to take imagery that had been so brutally heart-wrenching to watch in the other films,
the
and then,
snap?
and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
put it into the context of a basketball game where they blip
Yeah,
back
that's
and the basketball hits people in the face.
they establish in like 90 seconds like what happened after the snap. It's the blip. Everyone
Yeah,
came
yeah.
back. Like
Uh-huh.
they turn into a comedy moment, which I'm fine because like this is Spider-Man. I don't want it to be sad the entire time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the perfect way of like that's all I really needed,
Yeah,
and that it's a small amount. Cool. Moving on.
sure.
It's
You don't
like,
need to
this is
make
what
a whole thing
happened.
about it.
People are back. People who were little kids now are now 5 years older.
Yeah.
We
Brad.
just have to deal
Brad.
with it. We just have to deal
Aunt
with it.
May like got blipped back into her house, and people
yeah,
thought
and
she
now
was a ghost.
and now she's working with a charity that's
Uh-huh.
helping people who are displaced.
Yes.
Yeah.
After the blip, which is awesome. How do you guys feel about the name of the blip? Just out of curiosity.
I think that's like a silly like high school thing that they. That's not the official.
that's what the world calls it.
Aunt
Because
May's calling
May
it.
calls it.
Oh,
that.
that's true. I think it's fine.
That's the official term.
I think it's fine because
I'm
like the decimation's really like
Doesn't matter.
crazy and like destroying, and then the blip. Oh, we're back. Blip,
Yeah,
blip.
it's
Yeah,
fine.
the decimation would feel like something that you would call it in the 5 years
Yeah.
before this, but now that
You
that's
want
been undone, you want to call it
happier
something
tone.
nicer. Yeah.
the blip.
Uh,
The comeback
Because
sees.
for them, it was a blip.
Yeah.
It was they were there and then they were back, and
Yeah.
it's like what happened?
I just like fell asleep.
Next thing you know, it's like 5 years have passed. Holy shit!
Brad's
I'm
handsome.
glad that it does hint at the larger scope of just what people have been going through, because we are in the summer of 2024.
4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still 23.
Or 25.
Well, it's 8 months after 2023.
So let's just
23,
I think
24.
I think we're in
Depends-
2024.
Depends on what the it's
No,
all-
we're definitely in 2024. If it's summer vacation, you go 8 months in the past. We're in 2024.
Okay.
So that's where we are. Nuts.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I love that we're gonna spend the next like couple years like catching up.
filling this out.
Yeah, it's cool.
Mhm.
I like it.
there's a whole lot of I kind of want to talk about this because this is there's a whole lot of Tony Stark imagery hanging over Peter's head, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
Of this kind of loss and this pressure, and I imagine he must have been dealing with this for a while. There's 8 months of that on him. I really like when they're on the airplane and it shows the documentaries on there, and there's one that's Heart of Iron about Tony Stark, but I also noticed that there's one that's like
Nova.
about Hydra.
There's also a Nova one.
There's one about Hydra, and that's all real cool.
I didn't find the Nova one, but I saw Finding Wakanda.
Yeah, Finding
and,
Wakanda.
And the Snap.
Yeah.
Where there's like a documentary about all the
It's
Heart
cute.
of Iron.
It's cute that they did that. It's really cool that's
Yeah.
that's something that you feel. These movies do continue to be the ones I feel like show the most sense of like living in this world,
Like cute regular people.
Yeah, living in the world of the MCU.
Marvels.
I think that these films are really good at showing that. It's hitting a point. I think the second time I watched it, I really saw the parallels of it when he's doing the press talk kind of thing at the charity event
At the beginning? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's being asked all these questions related to Tony Stark.
Do you have
and aliens and
any
all
friendly
this.
neighborhood questions?
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of Iron Man 3's story for Tony dealing with the trauma. This is
PTSD.
essentially him dealing
Yeah.
with a different type of trauma.
Yeah, 100%.
And this is where I kind of come to one of my larger issues with the film is that I feel like it wants to say something with that, and it doesn't really say it.
Yeah.
By the end of the movie, like it wants to say something about how Peter's dealing with this grief or overcoming this trauma, this heavy decision that it feels like is being put on him in his life. And by the end of the movie, I don't feel like anything is actually said about that, and that disappoints me to a larger degree. And this is something that I talked with you about it that came to my attention. Is kind of present in Spider-Man Homecoming as well, that it feels like it's trying to say something about him taking personal responsibility, but the pieces never line up to actually say anything by the end of the movie about it. And this one I feel suffers from that just as much. While I really like the movie and I like the way that like Quentin Beck goes about getting Peter to give up Edith to him and everything.
Even in death, I'm the hero.
Even dead, I'm the hero. Yeah,
I love that acronym.
It's really good. The sense that like there's no recognition on Peter's part, I feel, to the degree of like actually fulfilling a full narrative, that he was so quickly throwing away responsibility, which is one of my issues, is that this is Peter Parker, Spider-Man. His whole thing is with great power comes great responsibility and all that. And there's
I thought about it. I thought about my answer.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off if you're still going.
I was just going to say that there is no like sense of what choice he feels like he has to step into now, because he is just actively running from his responsibility. He's trying to shove it away just to focus on a vacation with the girl he likes, rather than accepting what it's supposed to be for him.
So I don't think this is going to be a good answer, but it's my answer.
Yeah, it's fine.
So in this movie specifically, Mysterio asks Peter what he wants, and he says, I don't know. I completely agree that Spider-Man's a guy, great power, great responsibility, all this stuff. At the end of the day, he's still 16 years old, and I don't think I want him to learn his final life lesson in this movie when we're going to have 7 other Spider-Man movies for him to learn a lesson. I feel like the lesson, like, and I agree. I do agree that there isn't a overall theme for Spider-Man in this movie. I do think it's an adventure that had some bad stuff that taught him a lesson. I don't think the for him to become the responsible Spider-Man was the thought of this movie,
which is okay. My issue is that the film language is trying to tell me that him coming to a realization about himself in relation to the loss of Tony Stark is where the film is heading, because it constantly is throwing Tony Stark imagery in the movie around him, and that never pays off. The fact that the film itself, visual storytelling, is trying to tell me this matters, and Peter's ignoring it because he's closing the documentary image about Tony. Every time he sees an image of him, he's turning away from it.
Yeah, okay.
And that doesn't actually come to a grounded, like, this is Peter accepting what's happened and the loss of Tony or anything like that. That the film feels like it's driving me towards that, but doesn't do anything with it. That's what really gets to me about it.
Yeah, and I absolutely can see that. It didn't really bother me. I didn't think about it because, again, like I'm not thinking about it that way.
Sure.
I do think like this felt just almost like a one-off issue, or like he's not going to learn all the lessons in this one issue. And like I do feel like the thing about responsibility, like he was pushing it all away, right? And then when Fury literally invites himself into his life, Spider-Man is like basically almost forced to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He still doesn't want to do it.
Right.
So, like, I think this movie is showing, like, he is not ready for responsibility. Fury yells at him saying, you aren't ready for... Talos yells at him, you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
And I think the lesson is, like, he is not ready to be this huge Spider-Man. He's still learning.
Sure.
So, like, that's how I felt. He's still in the learning process.
Yeah. And again, like, it just feels like the film wants to say something, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Because it is just so constant and pervasive, the amount of Tony Stark imagery around Peter throughout this film.
Well, the thing is, like,
there's
he doesn't-
murals, there's
Everybody wants him.
monumentals.
Everybody wants him to be Tony Stark. And at the very end, when he's talking to Happy, and he's like, you can't be Tony Stark. Nobody can be Tony Stark. I think that, like, he tried to be... Even for a little bit, he tried to be Tony Stark, and it was too overwhelming. And he's like, "This is not who I am. It's not who I want to be." And I, that's what I got from this movie.
Sure.
He's like, "I am going to be my own friendly neighborhood Spider-Man." Look where it gets me at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Gets me in trouble.
yeah.
That's why. Ben, how do you feel? Tell me about this.
Damn, I'm trying to go get my thoughts together for this movie because one of my big problems with the movie was I guess like the whole Peter trying to do his things, like the scene on the bus after Brad takes that picture of him.
I love Brad.
And with that one shield lady,
Yes.
She's called the seamstress.
Really?
That's in the credits. She's the seamstress.
Okay. Well, like that one of him trying to get rid of that picture of Brad, and then he accidentally calls in a drone strike.
Yeah.
And then Fury, Talos, yelling at him for it. It's like, dude, give the kid a break. I mean, yes, he has all these powers, but you're right. He's still a 16-year-old kid.
To be fair, he almost murdered a child
Yeah, he did
using billion-dollar technology.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it goes both ways.
Obviously,
I
he
think.
didn't want to do that. And,
Yeah. No, I know. It goes both ways, I think.
And there were just parts of this movie, especially seeing a second time, where I'm just like, again with the fake out, again with the. I don't know. I get it's a comic book movie, and like when Brad when they're in London, he finally points out, I was like, "Do you guys not notice how all this creepy stuff with Peter's being shady?" And then even the head teacher's like, "Yeah, we're just gonna roll with it." It's like, no, a teacher would not do that.
Well, the teacher doesn't roll with it because he yells at Brad for taking pictures of a guy in a bathroom.
All right, yeah,
Right. Okay, I'm just making sure.
But that wasn't a bathroom though. That was in
It doesn't matter where it was. He thought it was a bathroom. You shouldn't be taking pictures of people against their will.
Right, you're not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not. For some reason, with Spider-Man: Far From Home, I cannot formulate my thoughts.
Is it because you're really tired? Maybe.
I don't know if it's because I'm tired or what, but I can't formulate my criticism of this movie other than the fact that everything before the Mysterio find out was. Part of it was like I can remember it, but then it's like I don't know why this part was just kind of. Like,
I'll tell you what,
it fell flat for me.
For me, I still really like this movie, but upon seeing it a second time, most Marvel movies, at least the last couple, are very rewatchable. I think like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Endgame, like there's a lot of revalue.
Yeah.
Like, and this movie, much like Ant-Man and the Wasp, like it's trying to be much more of a comedy than the first one. Like this movie is almost all comedy, and that's the problem. It doesn't always land. I really like the Ned and Betty stuff. Upon seeing it a second time, I think there's a little too much of it.
Yeah,
I agree. Like the it was funny the first time I saw it when Betty calls him babe the first time, and Pierre was like, "Wait, what? What about us being like bachelors in Europe?" And then it was like, "Oh no, that was the."
That's all still great. I think there's just too much.
There was a bunch.
They can cut a couple of those jokes.
There was a bunch of that stuff that came on later. And those jokes didn't land for me, and then the jokes did land for me. Like the scene at Ferris wheel, it landed, but then there are other times where she kept calling his name. He's like, "Yeah, I'll be there, right there, babe." I'm like, "Okay, can we stop with that?"
I think a larger issue with just Ned's presence in general in the film is that, and I like the movie, I do, but the Ned and Betty thing becomes so dominating of his character by the time that we get to the point where MJ knows, and it's kind of this weird how the two handle it. Like all of a sudden
competing.
Ned feels like he's being pushed out. There isn't enough time in the movie to actually explore that, so there's almost no point in having it. But it's still hinted at, and I'm like, I could have used this earlier in the movie. I could have used this idea of Ned feeling like the relationship was pulling him away from it.
But also, Ned makes like I had some problems with Ned. I think some of his writing choices are kind of bad in this movie.
Yeah.
But specifically, he's just like, Peter, what are you gonna do? You have to take care of all of us. You have to do all this stuff, and I'm like. You got to be a better friend than that, dude. You're usually a better person than this. I know you're in a relationship, but it's like it's almost too silly for me.
Yeah,
almost.
Nobody. I don't think any of Peter's friends are given a character arc in the movie, and that's and Ned is one who it feels like needed one in relation to Peter.
You know who has a secret arc? Flash. Because something's going on with Flash's mom, and it's making me really sad. Because they mention it twice.
Yes, Flash's parents don't love him.
That's super sad.
Yeah, it is, and that's why he's a bully.
That's why he's an asshole,
and he gets punched in the nuts.
He's going to be the best Venom. Watch. He's going to go into the army, and he's going to lose his legs, and in 5 years, Tony Revolori is going to be like a big hunking man. He's going to be the new Agent Venom. Just watch. Watch.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Counting your chickens before they hatch. Something that does bother me is that I kind of and this largely speaks to the issue of what I was saying, is that when Peter Parker does come down to the end of the film, his friends are still at the presence of being in danger, which makes it feel like there's a more direct personal reason why he's stepping into the role. I know that it is also like, oh, he would do it to save the world, but he's leading with the fact that like my friends are in danger because they know now, and it's putting them in the line of fire. And I almost wish that they hadn't been part of the finale, that they weren't a part of what was in danger. It had just been like
he just has to stop
Mysterio
Mysterio just to stop his mistake.
Because nothing with them there adds anything for me. The whole scene where they're running away, it's just like, cool, it's nice to spend time with them, but it's not adding a lot to the movie for me, and it's almost questionable why Quentin is so prioritizing them while Spider-Man is under him and Fury is clearly suspicious of him because the drones were found out, but he's like, I gotta kill those kids.
Well, I think it's at that point where like shit starts going wrong, and he's like, I gotta kill these kids, because like if any of them get out, they'll tell a secret.
They know, but Nick Fury now knows his secret as far as he knows, because his illusion just fell apart in front of him, and he's like, gotta kill the kids. Don't worry about killing Fury right now. Gotta kill the kids. And us knowing that that's not Fury, he's fine.
Yeah.
But him not knowing that's not Fury is like, dude, why are you prioritizing these 3 high schoolers over the man who's gonna murder you in a second?
I still think at that point, even though it's dumb, he still thinks like he's convinced Nick Fury, because he doesn't know if Fury knows, right? Because he doesn't know Nick Fury knows.
He knows that he should know that his drone just got blown up in front of Fury.
But clearly he says, I have this under control. We're just going to reboot it. Like, he had a plan when the whole thing goes off. So
I
he
suppose
has a plan.
so, but if I lost my one eye on Nick Fury at that moment, I'm saying, like he's saying, this is my most dangerous threat is Fury. Yeah. I don't think I would take my eyes off of Fury to chase down some high schoolers.
He also had a drone right in front, just in case anything happened. So
that's when it got blown up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The one in front of Fury got blown up, and he's like, nah, I gotta get those kids. And I find that questionable. Like, defend it all you want.
No,
I do find it questionable that Quentin Beck would pursue the kids, and I don't feel like pursuing them was even necessary, except to lead us into that one moment where Happy blurts out that he loves Aunt May.
I also think it helps that, like, he's an unstable madman.
Yeah.
So, like, he's not clearly thinking.
Cool, that's fine. As a writing thing, it's kind of dumb.
I feel you.
And it feels like it's forced into this narrative of just to put Happy in the room with the kids and have that moment.
I like that scene with the mace, and they have to, like, trick the drone for a second.
Yeah, it's fun. It just felt like it didn't add as much to the movie as I want.
Sure.
And that's how I felt about that.
Let's try to be positive. Mysterio is incredible. The visual effects for Mysterio are great. Jake Gyllenhaal is super funny. He plays first of all, if you didn't know he was a bad guy, he plays a really great generic hero. He's super good at just being generic, and I'm like, wow, this is definitely like a white guy being an actor. And I'm like, of course, because he's playing a role. He's trying to be the generic superhero you all fall in love with. And I'm like, that's so smart. And the whole team, the entire bar scene is my favorite scene in this entire movie. You bring back Ralphie from A Christmas Story. William from Iron Man.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
I do too.
Every character in that bar gets a call out of like, hey, you hate Tony Stark, and you hate Tony Stark, and you hate Tony Stark, and we're all going to come together. And I just love the bullshit that they feed into and that they read into it. It's like, what does Mysterio say? Like they listen to the truth, and I am the truth. Like that's like such like a Fox News thing to say, not to get political, but like they'll believe the truth because I am the truth. And I'm like, I love the idea of Mysterio, and it's a team.
What I love about that bar scene is that he's like, because he's trying to be like, I mean, props to Jake Gyllenhaal because he is being like the generic superhero guy, but then once Peter's like trying to tell him, he's like, no, don't give me the glasses and the shirt, I'll take them.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, and then finally, when he's like, someone get this stupid costume off me, we did it,
yeah, dude.
Like I love the callback and how the screenwriters placed these characters that were in the bar scene into the events in the past. Like he said, hey, I made this great hologram technology.
Barf.
And then Tony named it Barf and fired me. This guy had these great weapons plans, and then he got let go because of Obadiah Stane and all that bullshit. Just I was like, okay, this is some good motivation here. This is some good...
You know what this reminded me of? It reminded me of the comic book. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's called Watchmen.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. So the movie completely neglects this entire aspect of it. But in the comic, it's about this group of scientists, of artists, of musicians, all these different people who collectively create the most horrific thing in human history. Because it takes all different aspects to create something that to destroy the world, and that was like a small aspect of this movie. I'm like, it takes a writer who writes this silly story about this guy from another world. It takes this there's like a seismologist to create these ripples in the ground that like trick Nick Fury. It's just like it's not everything in this movie is well written, but the Mysterio aspect of it I really like.
Yo, good shout out to they shout out 616.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, I know this is not the real thing, but if it is, then it's for sure. I know Brandon's gonna be all about it because he said repeatedly that this isn't the 616 universe.
It's not.
It's
and
not.
technically it's not because he's wrong because he's not from the multiverse.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But what's a 833? Is that's
UK? It's a Captain Britain.
Okay.
Spider-Man UK.
Gotcha.
I really like the scene where he's going through the play file with all of them, and he's watching the reel, and he's saying, "No, take it back. Do it. Run it again."
Oh, yeah.
Where
Yeah.
he's doing the rehearsal process of it.
He's directing it.
Yeah.
I like that scene.
I really
a lot
like
too.
that scene a lot. I really like everything about that moment. Watching how it comes together, it kind of gives you, I think, an even better window into who he is than the bar scene did. Though I like the bar scene a lot. And then him having to realize that he has to kill Peter Parker, and the way he lays that at William's feet is really
Like he
good.
basically blames William.
Oh,
like,
he blames him
it's
100%.
Like his blood is.
He's
on
like, when
your
I have to
hands."
kill Peter Parker because it wasn't his plan.
Yeah.
When I have to kill Peter Parker because of this, realize that his blood's on your hands. It's really good.
I actually do believe, even though Quentin Beck and his team are like a bunch of bad guys, like I do believe that they feel bad for Peter because Peter is a good guy and they can recognize it. Like, like it's a kind of a shame we have to do this to this kid, but like screw Tony Stark.
Yeah.
He gave billions of dollars to a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Like it's a fun dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he just goes obviously like the villain mode at the very end. Yeah.
Well, also a big prop. I love how Mysterio's costume, Jake Gyllenhaal's, especially when he's like in his illusion thing, where it's like definitely this is comic book.
It's a
Mysterio.
mocap suit, man.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
He's wearing a mocap suit,
It's
but he
hilarious.
still has the fishbowl on him.
It's so
Oh,
smart.
yeah,
I love that. It's still a fishbowl, but you could tell that's the Mysterio fishbowl. Like he's
Right.
controlling everything and the illusions.
Also, I didn't realize we were going to get a Doctor Strange sequel so soon. Those visuals, man, holy shit!
Yeah.
some
love
really
how- I
great
love-
scary stuff.
I love how when May's talking to Peter from New York when he's still in Venice after we first see Mysterio fight the quote unquote the elemental. She's like, "Oh, is that who's that guy? Mr. Strange, Doctor Strange."
Right, yeah. I think the whole visual sequence of when he's messing with Peter is really good.
Oh, it's great.
Especially like the Inception within Inception, where like he shoots Fury, but then Fury shows up. He's like, "Oh, you got to tell me who your friends told, because like he's gonna kill him." And then he gets like hit by a train.
Yeah,
jeez, man. That's
the whole time I first saw that sequence, I was giddy.
Yeah.
Just watching every bit of it, and then it gets to the point where he's in front of Tony's grave, and Tony crawls
Zombie
out in the
Iron
zombie
Man?
Iron Man outfit, and I'm just like sitting there like, I didn't think I'd ever see this.
I think we like both looked at each other at the same time. We're like, "Oh, what? This is this
Yeah.
movie?" Yeah. It's
and I was like, dang, you went for Mysterio hard,
Yeah.
and I'm happy about it.
Especially after he gets shot the first time before Peter gets hit by the train.
Yeah.
He had me fooled. I was like, is that really
100%.
Nick Fury? Is that 100% Nick
And
Fury?
it's super.
And then the second he says, "Oh, you're so gullible," and it's not. And it's Nick Fury. Then he gets hit by the train.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
A little bit later in the Netherlands, when Happy comes to rescue him, and Peter's like so traumatized. He's like, "Hold on, I don't know if you're real,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
I
yeah.
am tripping balls right now."
Yeah.
That's some really really fun shit, man.
Yes.
And it's like, and that's the thing that I was most worried about, because Mysterio is a con man. He's a guy with special effects, and in comics you can do anything like that. I thought it was going to be he's just working with these elementals who are just super villains, right? I didn't think it would truly be a $200 million Mysterio. Like,
Right.
this is what Mysterio would be in a live-action movie, dude. It is so inventive, and it looks so good, and it's so fun.
It really does. When he's put Peter inside his own fishbowl head and takes
Yeah.
it. That was really
some
great.
really, really awesome, and like using different suits, like bringing back their very first suit with like
Yeah.
the goggles, like
Yeah.
some really spooky stuff, man.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I really that whole thing was an A++.
And you know what? The thing I haven't talked about, which honestly is probably my favorite aspect of the movie, is MJ. I really like MJ.
Yeah, I really like
I'm
her
a
too.
big fan of. I am so. This isn't like. For the most part, and you've read way more Spider-Man, but I've read a lot of Spider-Man. For the most part, Mary Jane is a damsel in distress. She's she's a reporter at times,
yeah.
but like she has not been given like. I think the PS4 Spider-Man game is a really good Mary Jane.
Sure.
But like she's not. I don't think she's super great in the comics all the time. She's kind of relocated. She was like Tony Stark's assistant for a little bit. Like she
Yeah, it
doesn't
depends
do a lot.
what comic you're reading. Yeah.
This movie, she is not just a regular white boring character.
Well,
she
I
is
don't-
a character
I don't-
with personality.
Yes.
And you know exactly what type of person she is, and you can feel the chemistry. Like it is sizzler spicy. How much they get along.
I don't think of MJ as Mary Jane. I think of her as her own entity. I
Yeah.
don't think that there's nothing there that's telling me that she's an adaptation of Mary Jane.
Okay.
So I recognize her just as her own character. She
Okay.
has pretty much outside of the initials nothing in common with any
Yeah.
comic version. So I just think of her as her own entity,
Yeah.
and I like it.
Yeah.
I like her as her own entity.
I'm just yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'm glad that she has a great personality because like
I agree.
Kristen Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst.
She's fine.
Yeah.
And like I just didn't want another one of those. And this is like she feels like a real like she feels like a millennial, like someone I would hang out with, like the type of person she is. And like and again, it helps that they're dating. The chemistry is off the charts, man. Like
Yeah.
every time they're on screen together, it's magical for
Now,
me.
one of my favorite scenes is the scene on the bridge between him and between Peter and MJ.
I wish they did not
Like this-
show that in the trailer. That
Yeah.
pisses me off so much.
Yeah, but the way that whole scene went, because I thought it was gonna go straight from, oh, she just wanted to know if he was Spider-Man or not. She does like him, like she will tell him, obviously. But the whole getting up to that point where the projector comes out, it's like, and they see the elemental go, and then he's like, "Nope, you're right, I'm Spider-Man. We're in this neck deep now." And she's like, "Okay, I just had really trouble because I really do like you, but oh my god, really, you're Spider-Man? No joking, holy shit."
Yeah.
Just that whole scene where it goes from a 180 to it's going to be a heartbreaking moment for Peter because the girl he had a crush on was only following him because she just wanted to play her own hunch. And then it turns into, and it gets revealed that she really wasn't just trying to play her hunch.
Yeah.
It turns out that she really does like him. I was like, okay, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But just the whole realization, like the look of Tom Holland's face when he's like, I am Spider-Man
Yeah.
and we need to go
Yeah,
right
I messed
now.
up real bad.
Yeah.
The scene really that spoke to me most with their chemistry and how good they are together is when he comes back to the hotel after the party and he left the opera and she's like, so you left your opera? And he's like, yeah, I got sick or whatever, I got lost. And he's like, you want to like, I don't want this trip to be over. Like, do you just want to hang out and do something? And she's like, yeah, that'd be great. Like, I'll see you in 10 minutes. I'll see you in 5. Like they like each other so much. And you guys remember how being a teenager is and like how
yeah.
like awkward and like anticipatory it could be, and like just them walking together and like almost touching hands. It's just like it made me feel like I was a kid again, dude. Like that type of romance is like so it's so emotional. It makes me feel so
Yeah.
real.
I really like the scene where she comes up and says "Bo."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's for me like the chemistry pinpoint of them.
Yeah.
That I'm like, okay, they work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're having to be sold on like a whole new relationship for Peter from the previous Spider-Man film.
Yes.
And that's a turn.
Yes.
But I think they pull it off pretty well.
I will say something just real quick on the MJ thing. She is not Mary Jane Wanted, no. But she is Michelle Jones. She is the MJ of this universe. I don't think we're going to see a redheaded Mary Jane show up anytime
no,
soon.
neither
No.
neither
Yeah.
am.
No, I just
neither
want to
do I
like.
either.
I'm just like I think it's cool that this is his MJ and this is a version of an MJ. It's a different
Okay.
take. It's a different take,
Yeah.
and that for me, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is not MJ, but like this is it's kind of MJ.
It's
semantics.
Yeah, they're practically different characters.
Yes.
I think Martin Starr gets a lot of great play in this film.
Hell yeah, he does.
As the teacher, and I really like it.
What did he show up in Hulk?
Yeah,
Hulk.
Incredible Hulk,
Jeez, man.
and then Spider-Man: Homecoming.
That's
and
so
now here.
good.
He has a lot of excellent moments.
His wife
in this
got
movie.
pretended to.
His
blip.
wife pretended to blip on him.
That's so rough.
That's
He
pretty good.
overhears Ned about the
Perfume.
perfume allergy, and he like jumps to and goes to the rescue.
Yes,
It's like, oh, you're trying, buddy.
JB Smooth was the other teacher. he was okay. Some of the jokes didn't work for me as much.
Witches.
Witches, yeah.
I like the witches joke.
He said it like 4 times.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was okay.
He was fine. He didn't offend me, but I wasn't like drawn to his performance at any particular moment either.
Yeah.
That's fine. We
there's a lot of characters in this already.
It all works fine.
Yeah. Here's a fun fact from the comics. Ned Leeds is the Hobgoblin, and he's married to Betty Brant in the comics. Then they break up. I doubt they're going to make Ned Leeds the Hobgoblin.
Since this character's clearly Genki.
Yeah. Why they don't just... I mean, I know why they don't call him Genki, but why call him Ned? Why call him Ned Leeds, who's the Hobgoblin? I don't think they're going to make that character the Hobgoblin. What a twist if he's the Hobgoblin.
If he becomes a Hobgoblin, that'd be pretty sweet.
What a long con.
Yeah.
I actually hate Spider-Man.
Yeah, that'd be really dumb.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else we got going on in this movie?
I really like when he pops up and he's like, "Sir, I can help. I'm real strong and sticky."
Yeah.
And he's got the jester mask on.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Because that'll fool any of his high school classmates.
Yeah, totally.
Man, yeah, the Spidey action, the spider action's real good in this.
A
lot of great web web
the web
tricks.
sling was great, and also, I feel like one of the biggest, not problems, but a thing that came up a lot when I was watching the anime cartoon back in the 90s was Spider-Man would run out of web a lot. It became a big thing.
It's just a plot device,
where
man.
he's just
damn,
I'm out of webs. I don't know why, but the fact that in this movie, the very climax where he's like, "Oh no, no more webs," it's like, okay.
That didn't bother me because
No, it didn't bother me because I was
cool.
it's a problem that was something that for me being a longtime Spider-Man cartoon fan was what's Spider-Man going to do without his primary weapon, his webs, and then Peter figures it out. It's like, okay, I don't need my webs to get through this problem.
Yep.
The one thing that bothered I know we're talking about a whole lot of positives, but it just
No, man, go for it.
It bugs me to my core that they call it the Peter Tingle. I know it's just this thing that they're doing for this movie. They're probably going to call it Spider-Sense later. It just bugs me to high heaven.
So it doesn't bother me at all, and mostly because I don't think they've ever called it Spider Sense or Spidey Sense in the films. I don't think they've ever given it a name.
They've never
They
named
never
it.
have. As
It's
far as I
not-
can remember, they never have.
It's not something that I think necessarily needs to have a proper name, nor do I think that it needs to be named at all. I think the Peter Tingle thing, because it comes from May, is fine.
And in relation to Happy, which again adds to their the weird relationship that he has with them. So so him saying Peter Tingle, is just I'm a fan of it.
I don't need them to ever say it again outside of this movie.
I don't think they will.
But it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
What I wish it didn't bother me, but what I wish they had done with it is I think that you can draw the conclusion that he's having issues with his spider sense because of this uncertainty and this stress that he's under.
That is one thing that they didn't. That I wish they just would have left alone, if not go into it more, because they talked about it barely.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. Is that I feel like this is again I think there is a clear overarching narrative, and who knows what got left on the cutting room floor. But there is a clear overarching narrative of Peter is carrying a burden from the loss of Tony Stark.
Too stressed.
That is a part of what's happening. If you directly tell me that is related to why he's having trouble using his spider sense, that gives me something to latch into. There's a growth arc here.
See Spider-Man 2
for that. Yeah, and the fact that isn't played into really bums me out.
When it initially wasn't a problem, because at the beginning I took that first scene with the banana as he doesn't see Aunt May as a threat, so he doesn't use his spider sense.
Sure.
But then later Happy says, "I heard your sense isn't working."
Yeah.
So to double confirm he is having problems with it.
Right.
And they do not show that in the movie at all. It's he doesn't mention, "Oh, my senses isn't working."
Yeah.
They just re-mention the joke again.
Yes.
And I'm like, but I don't feel that it's not there. You're still dodging stuff like Spider-Man.
Except for the fact that he didn't when he was with Mysterio the first time.
Because it's crazy illusions.
Sure, yeah, and you can make that argument, but it would have played better if you had made this thematically tied to this story that you seem to be telling of Peter is not himself right now because he's allowing this Tony thing to mess him up, and he needs to center himself.
It makes me wonder if that was a partially part of the overall thing. They did not want to do another Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, and on the
original
fact
Raimi,
of the banana thing, I thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, but in Civil War, he doesn't perceive Tony as a threat, and he's able to catch his web without looking at him when Tony tosses it at him.
I think that just might be good reflexes.
I mean, no, that's definitely spider sense. He's not even looking at him. He's not even looking at him at all. He catches it from behind his head.
Gotcha.
So the banana thing falls in that same category, which is where I'm saying that you clearly had the makings of making this a part of his arc. You should have just explored that, put that in there,
Makes me think
made it part
some
of
stuff got cut, but because you can't cut the Peter Tingle part because it's so funny. It's so funny.
But it makes sense too. It's the same idea of like Tony having to overcome not having full access to his suits in Iron Man 3 while he's dealing with his trauma.
Yeah.
It's Peter having to overcome his difficulties, his mental barriers he's putting up because of what's happened to Tony and where he's feeling at in the world, that he has to be like, oh man, I've got to, like, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to beat him.
Yeah.
And they didn't go into that at all. I also think it's super weird that the Spider-Man mask closes his eyes when he closes his eyes for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't blink. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
It's not enough to upset me. It's just odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really, it's so bizarre. I really like the film. I do. I do feel like there's some kind of like narrative reason. And I really do liken it to Iron Man 3 a lot. After seeing it a second time, I think Iron Man 3 was very much going for a similar like exploration of something major happened to the character, and now what are they going through? And it feels like this movie really wanted to do that, but I don't think they saw it all the way through.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. But I think everything related to Mysterio is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that all the really good bits like Night Monkey.
And,
I
want a pop of Night Monkey.
Yeah, a whole lot of the other things that they do to fill it in really work. I think we could have sacrificed some things to have explored more of what personally is happening with Peter. I think where this falls short of Homecoming is even with
It's not as tight.
Even with Homecoming's narrative falling a little short, I feel like I did get a personal exploration of Peter Parker. In this one, I feel like I don't go as deep into what's going on with Peter as I want to.
Yeah, I can agree.
And I'll go back to, like, this is something I talked about long before this movie was coming out, that I really wanted them to tie in the connection between Peter's loss of Tony mirroring his loss of Uncle Ben not long ago. And the fact that that's not paid any lip service at all, it bums me out a little. They have the one thing that we've ever seen him have from Ben, which is his bag, and that's apparently destroyed. And,
yeah.
All right. So I just wish that there had been a moment where May even recognized something that maybe even Peter was ignoring, is how similar this was, and she's like, this could have tied into like May recognizing that he's in distress, and that's why he can't use his spider sense, and kind of talking to him like, look, I can understand where this feels really familiar, and blah blah blah, and just to set up that idea, and so we can get a window into what Peter's thinking as he's going through the rest of the film would have helped a lot.
Yeah. I definitely. I can't. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, but I don't need it, because I think the problem with specifically, and this is what I wanted to talk about, I've seen a lot of people online not like this movie, not even for the fact, if it's a good or bad movie. It's the fact that it's a part Iron Man movie, and people just don't like that Iron Man is so tied directly to Spider-Man.
Sure.
And I get that. I understand that. But this is not the comics. This is not the television show. This is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where his father figure is Iron Man. That's the way the cookie crumbles in this universe, right? And I think I've seen some people be pretty unfair to this movie simply because they're calling it Iron Man Jr. 2. And I'm like, I think that's very unfair.
I think that's unfair too.
I completely get why people want their Spider movies to be only Spider-Man. They made 5 of those movies that weren't connected to anything else. That's the nature of this universe.
Yeah.
This is not me attacking you guys.
Yeah.
But I wanted. You guys kind of just said it, like, you guys have no problems with, like, because this is the only movie I think the next movie is not going to be any Iron Man. I think this is a very reactionary movie to both Homecoming and Endgame.
And it has to be.
And it has to be. So and this movie has, like, again, this doesn't say anything about anything, but it has a really high Rotten Tomato score. And after I saw it, I was like, man, I feel really high on this movie. I can't be the only one. And people really like this movie, and I'm just glad, like, that Iron Man fatigue, like, isn't there, because, like, I don't think that's very fair.
Yeah, I want to be clear. Like, I'm really happy with the film. I do like it. It's more that I find, even as I was going into it, I was anticipating, like, I think even before Endgame came out, I knew Tony Stark was going to die, and I knew that Spider-Man Far From Home was going to have to deal with Peter dealing with the fallout of Tony's death.
Yeah.
And I'm always all here for it. I just wish that was more actually intrinsically a part of his story. If you're going to do it, then really commit to it. And I feel like they only half maybe 75% committed to
I would say
it.
75.
Yeah, I would say like 75% too, and I wanted them to commit the full 100%. Tell me a story about Peter getting over the grief of losing the second father figure in his life.
Yeah.
Tell me that story. I want to see it, and I wish that it had been followed through 100% because I don't feel like it was. I feel like it was almost there,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
it wasn't quite. And I really do think that just some slight alterations, like having May point out the similarities, or something to tie in his spider sense to being tied to it, so we know that Peter's in this state of distress that he's not acknowledging. All these things could have just at least made it feel like this is someone. This should have been a film about like when you're a young person getting over grief.
Yeah.
And like moving past it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm bummed that got waysided so hard. And I could have lost some of the romantic exploits of chasing MJ to have more of that explored. I could have almost had MJ be more of a friend to him.
I would say get
in
rid
this
of the
movie.
Ned and Betty stuff because I think the MJ Peter stuff is super great.
I think it's super great too, but I almost would have found this a more...
Because that's the point of his
I would
journey
have
is
found it-
his to get MJ.
Yeah,
You
I
can't take that stuff out.
Well, I would have found it a more interesting thing if MJ had been able to be the person to see the window into where Peter was at and get him and be able to reach the branch out to him and say, like, you need to talk about this. The fact that you're not talking about something that's clearly bothering you is bad.
Yeah.
That, as an exploration of someone post-grief, would have attracted me more to it, and I wouldn't have minded if, like, not that, like, you lose Peter and MJ connection, but maybe you don't go for the 100% full in a relationship yet. You
Yeah.
go for this, like, really close bond because of this.
I honestly think it's because like we know how like Marvel doesn't want to do anything they've done before, right?
Yeah.
So like as much as we want like core Spider-Man stuff, they did that 5 times, and like as much as like Uncle Ben's tied to that, like now we have Tony Stark, and as much as we want Uncle Ben, like they're just I don't think they're gonna touch it.
I mean, even without touching the Uncle Ben stuff, like, even though I think that's a bummer to not acknowledge the similarity at all,
Yeah.
even just keeping this locked into Tony Stark, this still had an opportunity to actually commit to the story being about an exploration of what happens with Peter after that.
Yeah.
And
again, it makes me wonder if after Iron Man 3, which is an entire story about PTSD, they didn't want to do that again. Like it's almost like
but this is a different kind of PTSD.
No, I know, but they didn't want. I fear that like they don't want to make the same thing over again, ever again. Like no matter how even slightly close to something it is.
That's unfortunate.
It is. I agree.
I think that the movie's really good. I think that there was a slightly better movie inside of it that didn't see the light of day, and that's a bummer.
I agree with that.
That's kind of where I end up at. Ben, do you have anything else you want to say in relation to some of this?
No, I don't. I got nothing.
And that's me being like. I understand that's really what I wanted out of a Spider-Man movie, and I still really enjoy a lot of what it gave me. I just I'm bummed that I'm not going to get that, and I think that would have been a really cool story. I think this could have been, especially for the age that Peter's at, such a great exploration of what he's going through. So we get to the end of the film.
Spider-Man.
I do like, by the way, the sequence with him on the jet with Happy and
That is super cute.
building through the suit and everything. I think Jon Favreau, when he goes to turn on the music, makes the Spider-Man thwip hand to do it. Because
so?
I think, yes, I was watching it the second time, and I think he reaches for the button like this with the Spider-Man hand symbol
Nice.
and everything. I think he was doing it in just kind of a fun, joking way because you almost can't fully see the motion, and that it's just something that wasn't entirely supposed to be in the cut, but it is. And
Just
it's
like
kinda
Spider-Man,
cute. He's like,
I
"Oh,
too
I-
love Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
Yes.
I love Led Zeppelin. I was like,
And there is like a really sweet moment of like clearly Peter doing some similar motions to Tony and Happy watching him. I think that's very tender.
yeah.
I just wish that was more present. The whole idea of the Edith thing too. I hope that doesn't not go anywhere in the future. That Tony left this, and I'm not even saying directly with Peter, but like that Tony left this behind. That I hope that serves a larger purpose down the road.
Yeah.
Of Tony having left this important gift. But yeah, so he creates the new suit. He beats Mysterio. That whole sequence is awesome.
Hell yeah.
All that really works. well.
The just real quick, like when he enters the hologram and there's just like 100 drones flying around,
Yeah.
and the way
Yeah.
he takes them out is like it's just so cool. It's so
Yes.
Spider-Man. I love it.
Yes, I
looks
really
great.
like it. I really like that this did do the other thing I like about the jet is it allowed us to get a sense of how smart Peter is, like the how tech savvy he can be on his own, what he can plan, what he can do, and I appreciate that because that's an important element of that character is that he is very intelligent. So we get to the end of the movie and we get to the first post credits. Unless you
is
want to touch something
Mysterio
before that.
dead?
Yeah,
Do we actually think he's dead?
I think he's dead.
I think Quentin Beck died because Edith tells him no illusions are there.
That's true.
So Quentin Beck died. But
So
I think
who
Quentin
made
Beck,
who made that
William,
altered?
William,
Okay.
because we see
Yeah.
William with the download and
Oh, that's
everything.
right, yeah.
But I think Quentin Beck also planned it because he said, I have contingencies.
He
and
did.
he's rebooting something with William that we don't see happen.
Yeah.
I think Quentin, and the way that Quentin Beck says his last line, like, people will believe anything.
Yeah, he's coming back.
I don't know that he's coming back, but I do
Mysterio's
think,
coming back.
yes,
I mean.
I think Mysterio will come back. I think William will use Mysterio again in the future, and we will see the imagery of Quentin Beck, but the
Sinister.
person himself is dead.
Sinister 6.
I think the person himself, Quentin Beck, is dead,
Yeah.
but I think he knew that he was going to get Peter Parker back for this,
Mm-hmm.
that he was going to tear this apart anyway.
Yeah.
And so we get to that ending, and it is really cool. We get J.K. Simmons back as J. Jonah Jameson.
Well, first of all, we get like the first true, real like city swinging sequence.
We do,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
which it looks great, and
Yeah,
it's
it does.
it's a complete like 180 of like, oh, MJ loves swinging, and she like hanging out with Peter, like she hates it. She never
She
wants to do
hates-
it again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Her hair's all frizzy. I totally get
Yeah,
it.
she's like, nope, never again.
It doesn't
super
help
cute.
that Peter like kind of dropped her for a moment.
Oh my
there.
god, totally dropped
Oh,
her.
Yeah, I really like the sequence where he's swinging through and it's like don't text and swing, and he
Yeah.
really fumbles it, but he saves it, and he's got a comfortable confidence swinging through the city, and that's cool.
Don't text and swing. He does a selfie.
Yeah.
PS4 selfie.
Happy and May are super awkward.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
Are they
I love it.
dating? Who knows?
Yeah,
great.
I have to say, my favorite part of the movie was J.K. Simmons' reveal. That
So
whole
the
thing.
very, very, very end
Yes,
of the movie.
I know
It's
the
killer.
very, very, very end of the movie
That's fine.
is that because J.K. Simmons is iconic. I mean, he even did that thing for that one podcast or something of like what if J.K. Simmons was doing his thing during
Oh, yes,
the blip.
yes. Uh-huh.
And I don't know. And obviously it's true now, but he said, I believe he has said before this movie came out that if they ever wanted him to come back as J. Jonah Jameson, he would do it.
Oh yeah,
And of course-
he's been 100% down.
And to see him back and so tight-lipped about it, it's like I am so happy. I was so jazzed when I saw him talking about how Spider-Man killed Mysterio and about how he believes all this. I kind of like how the Daily
Quentin Beck is one of the greatest heroes in our entire history.
Yeah.
Mysterio is the greatest superhero of all time. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
I love
it.
how the DailyBugle.net is kind of like InfoWars.
100%.
Sorry, I want to jump back to something I just thought of real quick when
All
we were
right.
talking about that Quentin Beck. When Quentin Beck does the sacrifice move, the fake sacrifice against the fire elemental, and Peter's like, "No, don't do it."
Yeah.
If Peter had like traumatizing flashback to Tony sacrificing himself, that would have helped push him to the point of like, this guy's the new Stark. That would have helped me too to buy into Peter shoving off that
Yeah.
responsibility so fast.
I agree. They probably should have honed in that more, but I think that being the sacrificial move is supposed to indicate.
I think it is
Still.
too. I think it is too. I just wish that had been
Heightened?
I don't even know that in that scene it needed to be so much more intrinsically tied to this is where Peter's mindset would be, but I need to know he was kind of in that headspace before that moment.
I gotcha.
That's kind of how I feel, because I do feel like he's like, oh, this responsibility Mr. Stark gave me, the moment I could get rid of it, here you go.
Yeah.
So it would have helped, I think. Anyway, Jameson. Yeah, incredible. Obviously, super incredible.
And this is okay. So this is the coolest part because again, I didn't want this movie to be a big multiversal event with other things.
Sure.
But the fact that J. Jonah Jameson looks the same in this universe as he does in another universe makes it a multiverse movie. 100%.
It's the same in this
Because like
universe.
doppelgangers.
Oh, okay.
So like if he's the same Jameson in multiple universes, meaning there could be a Tobey Maguire walking around in this universe.
Oh, I got
There's
what
an
you're
Andrew
saying.
Garfield
I get
walking
what you're
around in
saying.
this universe.
Got it. Okay.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
So
yes.
I this is their subtle way of doing their own live action like Spider-Verse
Got it.
thing.
Okay.
It's
I'm
the
with
small
you.
steps.
I'm with you.
Because it's like it's not a big thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, but this sets the stage for an actual multiverse in a way. In a way.
Yeah.
It's not like that's the Jameson from the Raimi movies. It's the Jameson from this universe.
No, yeah, right.
It's just like it's the same actor, meaning that they look the same. Meaning we can get Tobey Maguire as a character. We can get Andrew Garfield as a character.
Yeah,
like Spider-Verse shit.
We could. I don't expect it.
After Jameson, dude, I expect everything.
100%.
They can do anything.
I don't think.
Did you ever expect Jameson to come back? Honestly,
yeah, the character.
J.K.
Simmons.
Yeah,
on some level, I wouldn't have been surprised. I don't feel like getting J.K. Simmons back means everything's on the table for multiverse stuff. I know that it leaves that possibility. My point being, I don't think Kevin Feige's thinking Spider-Verse. I don't think he is.
I'm not specifically meaning, the movie we just got where it's 7 Spider-Mans.
No, I agree.
They said the word multiverse, like they put that in our brains for a reason, and then they showed us J.K. Simmons. Like, I think it's not going to be a big grand thing that's the next movie, but I think this is their subtle way of saying, hey guys, get ready for crazy shit.
I think the reality that it could happen it definitely exists. I think even the reality of like multiverse, yes, this absolutely means that. Do I think we'll ever see like Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield cross back over? No, I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so at all.
All right. I believe in Kevin Feige more.
That's fine. It's not something I think is on like the bucket list of desires over other things.
Yeah. Well, of course, over other things, but like you can get a 5-second cameo and it'll be real fun.
Maybe it could go. It could go either way.
Ben, what do you think?
I just don't think so.
If it happens, it happens. If we got J.K. Simmons, okay. If
it happens, it happens.
I know. If we get J.K. Simmons back, cool. I don't think this is honestly, Ryan. I think you're looking a little too deep into this.
Yeah.
I think it's just the actor that a lot of people know who used to play the same character. Is he
going to be? Is he not going to be in the next movie?
I would hope he is. I want to see J. Jonah Jameson back
because I expected him to be fully involved in the next movie.
So
no, I mean I do too. I think what Ben is saying that
I'm saying that the fact that this with you saying that this could be the doorway into a greater universe, I think you're really looking into trying to find something here.
Okay,
I think it was just a good cameo to like, hey, we got him back. He's gonna be back. You're welcome.
Okay,
I think it was just a nod to us longtime Spider-Man film fans. Is like we got the same guy from that last movie or from the previous films.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. That's why I thought it.
Far more prevalent to me is that
Far From Home.
I really like the fact that this kind of turns Spider-Man into being that potential menace that people could look at, and I was like, oh, I'm all for this. I'm all for this idea that like the world could like, oh, I don't know about Spider-Man anymore, and that could be a conversation that people have, and there will be people who are fans and people who aren't. And I'm like, I'm cool with it, and Jameson's pushing it, and I'm like, I'm glad we're setting.
So
this
what
up.
happened?
And then they revealed that he is Peter Parker.
It kind of like in Far From Home where it ends with the what the F and then
yeah, exactly the same. And I'm not at the moment 100% here for it.
I'm down.
I find it slightly short-sighted. I don't expect that the genie will ever go back in the bottle on this decision. So, like, the world's always going to know he's Spider-Man now, and I'm not 100% here for that.
So, I want to talk to you real quick and get sad. Let's get sad real quick. If we think about how many movies all these people have done, okay, Chris Evans, right? He did 3 Captain Americas and 4 Avengers, right? So Tom Holland's done 2 Spider-Man. He's going to do let's see one more sequel. So 3 Spider-Man. He did 2 Avengers movies. He did a Captain America movie.
Yeah.
This seems like the right trajectory, considering the second Captain America movie, he was a criminal. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
We got to move fast, and I understand where you're coming from. Like, do we want a 16-year-old Peter Parker? Like, this is all very fast for the world to already know that he exists. Again, this is the MCU. This is not the comics where it's 50 years,
I don't think
he might only have 2 or 3 movies left.
I doubt that. Tom Holland's already said that he wants to be Spider-Man for a long time. Okay. And that's his... So the whole thing is that, like, Tom Holland's younger than everybody else.
Yeah.
He was younger than everybody else when he started, and everybody else kind of had an idea of how long they wanted to do this. And then some people were like, yep, that's how long I want to do this. And some people, Chris Hemsworth, were like, I want to keep doing this for longer. Tom Holland has already said he wants to do it for a long time. So it would be entirely their choice, not his, if he stopped being Spider-Man right now. And I don't think we're near there. I don't think that is a desire, that they want to stop Peter Parker.
There was the idea that Sony takes back Spider-Man 2.
I mean, yeah, that I don't think that they're doing it, though. I think that Sony's probably okay with where things are at.
Especially since this movie already made them $500 million. Yeah. I think they're fine.
23 movies in, I have no reason to believe that their story choices are going to make a bad choice. You know what I mean? Like, this has happened in the comics multiple times where people know who he is.
I think I know where you're heading with that train of thought, Ryan.
What?
I still think it's way too early for Miles Morales.
That is not the idea I was going for at all.
Really?
Yeah, not at all. This has happened multiple times in comics, and it always sorts itself out. Like, I think this is just going to be a fun story point for the next movie to bring in the Spider-Man menace or hero aspect of it that people are waiting for, when he does grow up a little bit. And he is a New York hero. I think that's what the next movie is going to focus on, like, how he actually learns about being responsible when people don't like him instead of being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
I mean, I'm all for that part. I just kind of wish that they didn't know he was Peter Parker.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm not super crazy about. My whole thing is that, like, I wish that if we were at the point where the world finds out he is Spider-Man, that there were more villains I knew about out there that this is a problem now that they know. Instead, I can only think of Scorpion.
Vulture
already knew. And also isn't after him.
Yeah.
He actively protected him, so that's not one.
Yeah.
The Mysterio gang also knew, so they're not people who didn't know who now found out. Scorpion's the only person I know of who didn't know who now knows.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, dang, here comes Scorpion. I wish that we were another film or so deep so that there was a roster of like, oh man, he got busted. There's so many people that are going to be after him, or that kind of idea. And
my pitch for the third movie.
This feels. Hold on,
yeah,
just
sorry,
a second.
sorry, go ahead.
This feels short-sighted to me.
Yeah.
That I don't expect them to reverse this decision. I don't see how that could be done in a way that wouldn't feel like kind of, in a sense, a cop-out. And it feels like when you've got this character so set up, it just feels so like he's not even done with high school. We're so early. We didn't have to do this. It feels really quick to pull the trigger. And I'm of two minds about it because I'm also like, if Quentin Beck were going to do this, Quentin Beck does know who he is. Why wouldn't he reveal him? So I understand the logic of that. I just really wish that there was more time with Spider-Man being a secret identity, and now he's going to be outed. And I trust that I'll like the movie that's to come. It doesn't change the fact that I think on a narrative level that this is early.
That's fair, yeah. And it does seem early. This is technically the 5th movie he's been in, right?
It's the 5th movie he's been in.
So
yeah.
like, I mean, it seems fast. But like for me, like it didn't bother me at all. Like it seems like another arc where I'm like, oh, this version of Spider-Man, wow, he's getting known real early. Interesting.
I think what makes me the most nervous about it is the potential for this. If he stays known for the rest of the time, it does force him to be in this Iron Man mantle that I didn't want him to be, because now he is like him. He'll be known. If he's not on the run after the next film, then the world knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and everybody looks to Peter Parker for these things. And we could get that like terrible version from the comics that we got for a while, where Parker was running his own industries, like a.
I know how much you don't like
that.
Dan Slott. I get it. I know.
But it's just not the Spider-Man story, that I want to watch, and I worry that this is going to push him towards that being an Iron Man persona.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not where it's going to go.
Judging how this movie ends, I don't think so.
I mean, I'm talking down the road, not
yeah.
immediately into the next film.
That's impossible to tell.
Yeah. But if
I'm talking about making Old Man Logans from now, there's no way to know.
But if he's always known to be Spider-Man,
until he dies and Miles takes over.
If that's a lot of films from now, that's a bummer that it's known that long.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's just like it's a story aspect where like I don't think it's a bad idea to try out in this new version of Spider-Man. That's all. I don't think it's a bad idea. Because like we've gotten every single incarnation of Spider-Man up till this point. Like, why not try something new where he gets found out when he's young? Like, see what happens. I know it's not your ideal Spider-Man.
No, it's not. And I mean, like, I'm not saying I won't even like change my mind or like it down the road, but my initial feeling right now is that this is early for me. I don't like it. I don't like that choice narratively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. I'm loving the thoughts. Ben, anything else?
Nah.
Cool. I love it.
No, I don't have this much thoughts on the movie. I mean, yeah, my thought on him, on his man, I'm stirring. Oh my gosh, I must be more tired than I thought I was. His identity getting found out, especially with all the later films down the line, because I do want Tom Holland to be Spider-Man for a lot longer. And you're right, I probably would have appreciated more when he does have a more established rogues gallery. We do know that he has like maybe a Green Goblin, a Rhino, a legitimate Doc Ock, and they all figure out he's Spider-Man. It's like, okay, now we can Sinister Six, let's ruin his life. Now it's like, okay, it's only Scorpion who is the major threat.
Hey man, we don't know what the next movie is going to be.
You're right, we don't. So maybe the next movie can maybe the next movie can be him trying to figure out how can I disprove that I'm Spider-Man but still be Spider-Man. Who knows?
God,
Who
they
knows?
could do some really stupid stuff with like clone stuff and Ben Reilly. It's like, I'm not the original Peter Parker. Ooh, that'd be spicy.
That would be spicy. But
A lot of people have pointed to like this being possible for him to do his whole like when he went going through like a whole bunch of different identities, just like the Night Monkey thing now, like just doing like a whole bunch of like, I'm the Scarlet Spider, I'm the just trying to throw everyone off by being a whole bunch of different versions, and I'm like, well, that's not what I want.
I don't think that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
yeah, well, who knows what's going to happen?
I see. I had an idea. It's your boy Craven Hunter. He hears about the infamous Spider-Man. He comes to New York and he learns that he's a real person, Peter Parker. So he starts hunting his family and stuff. I'm like, that's a personal, small scale story. You don't need 17 villains. Just have one guy. And he's trying to defeat the Spider-Man. He also knows who he is. I think that's cool.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen though, probably.
No, not if Sony's pushing that solo film still.
Can we not?
Hell yeah, Morbius.
Can we also not?
Fury's making Sword. Or working on Sword.
Oh, yeah,
He's
baby.
Fury's Sword.
So,
Swordy Fury.
Let me talk to you guys real quick about Metal Gear Solid 5. Spoiler alert.
We don't have 6 hours.
Okay, I just want to talk about it. Okay, so Spider-Man Far From Home.
No, okay. What's
no, it's
the
too late. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Spider-Man Far From Home is real good. I'm really happy I saw it twice. I'm really glad.
No, what was the Metal Gear Solid thing?
It's just something Fury's doing, something like big Solid Snake does.
It's Sword. What? Okay.
Don't worry about it.
It was a joke, Ryan.
No,
Damn.
I know, buddy.
It was a joke.
It's this movie has a lot in common with Metal Gear. I just want to make a Metal Gear reference. That's all.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we are getting the hints of Sword.
That's awesome. It's again like I didn't want this movie to be like big multiversal, but it's like strangely cosmic.
Yeah.
Which again, why is it at the end of the Spider-Man movie? It's weird.
I think it's set up for Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah.
I think because normally those end credit sequences are setups for other films. So I'm pretty sure that was the sword, the air quote sword. Because I want to double check with you. Was that truly Sword?
Yeah.
Or am I getting way too ahead of myself?
It's Space Shield.
That has
It's
to be
almost
Sword.
guaranteed.
If it's not Sword, then they're just gonna call it Space Shield, which is the exact same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that Nick Fury up in space with the scrolls is set for Captain Marvel 2.
Probably.
I'm willing to bet.
I think it's not just Captain Marvel 2, but I think just the overall cosmic, or
Yeah,
the Earth is going to be more involved with cosmic stuff.
We all know that a while back, when before James Gunn was separated and then brought back, that everything at Phase 3 was supposed to be much more cosmic in nature. This certainly feels like the setup for that.
100%.
Yeah,
I love it. It was really cool. I got spoiled by the J.K. Simmons things, by the way.
Oh,
yeah.
you did?
I did. It was a shame. But it's not a spoiler that made me mad. It was like, wow, are they really doing this? Like, and then then I saw it. I'm like, oh my god, they're really doing it.
Yeah.
It's crazy that he came back. It's really cool to see that. Like, it's weird watching a bunch of Spider-Man movies and not having like a media filter in a way. Because Spider-Man PS4 did that very well. The comics do that all the time. It was really nice.
Yeah,
it was really cool. It was a nice surprise.
It really was. It was quite a treat. I was super happy to see him.
Why does Ben Mendelsohn sound so bad, but the other Skrull sounds so good? Why does he sound like he has bad teeth in his mouth? You know what I mean? You know that? You hear what I'm saying?
I think it's a choice.
Really?
I think so.
I can't understand what he's saying sometimes.
I understand him. I think it's a choice of like how he just wanted to create an affectation of how he talks.
Okay, because I can understand Soren very well, and then he's kind of like slurring a little bit. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I think it's a character choice.
I'll accept it.
Yeah. Any final thoughts and ratings? I guess is this how we do it, Brandon?
Yeah.
Brandon. Yeah, you said yes.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't get any of Brandon's thoughts sent to me, so I imagine that next week Brandon will share some of his thoughts on Far From Home in response to the things we've said.
If you guys are hearing a honk, that is the elote man.
Oh.
He's driving by with elote right now. If you guys want some sweet corn and mayonnaise and some other good stuff, you hop on by where we live.
Oh, wow. It just got louder.
Yo, bring two in here, baby.
Okay, Ben,
final thoughts.
It was good. I mean, there are parts of it that I didn't like all that much. It felt like they dragged. All the Mysterio stuff was great. The whole con was really good, and the Mysterio like tricking Peter Parker. That whole scene is really trippy. It's really well done. There are times where I didn't where I had to keep second guessing myself. Like, is that really him? Is that not really him? Like when he shoots Peter on top of the tower. The chemistry between him and NJ is really good. I could do with a little less of Ned and Betty, but oh well. Yeah, it's still a solid film, and my favorite part that got me giddy the most was seeing J.K. Simmons back. That made me like straight up in my seat, going, "Holy shit, he's back! He's back as Jonah. This is great."
You heard it here first.
Yeah, so I would say 7.5. Still not the greatest of the Spider-Man films, obviously, but still not the worst. So
Sure. Ryan?
My name's Ryan Leopoulos. I like this movie a whole lot. Oh man, like I don't think it's a better movie than Homecoming, but I think I like it more just because like it's just so bombastic in like the ways that I didn't expect it to be.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9. I really liked it a lot. I think I gave Homecoming like around the same score. Like
I gave Homecoming a 10.
Oh wow, look at that. That's a big drop.
I was
I was super high on Homecoming, and I'm pretty high on this.
Right.
Not like I didn't like super smoke, but I just kind of smoked. But yeah, I give it a 9. I like this movie a whole shit.
Not hot air balloon high.
Not hot air balloon. That's thousands of feet, baby.
Yeah. I echo a lot of what you guys are saying.
There's a lot of echoing all the time in this
I
podcast.
know. I specifically said it because of Brandon.
Okay.
No, I really enjoy a lot of aspects of it. I focus on critiques and the negatives because I enjoyed so much that those things. I think when I enjoy a film that much, those things stand out even more because it's a lot easier for me to enjoy it, to not say those things about a film that just overall kind of underwhelms me, when instead I feel like this is a film that was near close to exactly what I wanted and instead falls short.
That makes sense, yeah.
So I focus in on those a lot, but I really enjoy Tom Holland's killer. The whole cast is killer. They're doing a great job. Mysterio was excellent. His whole illusion sequence with Peter is one of the most imaginative things I've ever seen in any Spider-Man film ever, and that's going to last the test of time, and that's awesome. Yeah, I think there's a lot of great stuff. I'm glad that Fury and Hill were revealed to be Skrulls. I think that really works upon second viewing. Props to both of the actors for playing these alternate versions of themselves, of these characters that they've been playing for so many years. And it's crazy that this is where we are, and 23 films in, and this is how we're dealing with things. And
Iron Man's dead.
It's just evolving, and it's great. Yeah, much of what I've already said. I sit at an 8, I think. Yeah, pretty comfortable with that.
Far from 8.
Do you guys think that Peter might eventually give Edith to Riri?
It is honestly impossible to tell.
Yeah.
There's literally no setup at all for her, so like I can't even.
I know.
I know. You can't even.
I wonder, just because he said for the next Tony Stark, and I'm like, man, if we get there, that'd be killer.
Yeah.
That'd be just killer.
Yeah.
It would, but she's not in this universe as we know.
No,
so.
of course.
As
I mean,
we
until
know.
it's revealed that like, hey, that little girl in Civil
Don't
War
do this.
was Riri Williams,
don't do
like
this.
Iron Man 2,
Yeah.
Peter Parker.
Don't do it.
Okay, so we'll move on into our book club.
Ooh.